Howdy fellas, Patrick here with Utah Pressure Washing. Hope you're all doing well on this nice sunny late fall, almost winter day. It is about 35 degrees here in the Beehive State, it's not too bad. So I'm gonna get out and do a little fishing today. In today's video, I am going to debunk and dispel the top 5 pressure washing myths. These are myths that I commonly hear from guys looking to get into the industry, guys that are in the industry, and customers or potential customers. These are 5 beliefs that I think a lot of people commonly hold that I have learned, for the most part, are generally untrue. So as I sort of go about my day today, I am going to do my best to dissuade you from believing these myths. If you haven't already, if you could please subscribe to the channel. It'll take you 2 seconds, it costs you nothing, and it helps me out a ton. If you enjoy this kind of content, if you want to see more, turn on that notification bell. I really, truly, deeply appreciate it. I am going to be doing a huge giveaway at 1,000 subscribers, and I'm almost there. I'm really close. So please subscribe for that. And yeah, without further ado, here are the top 5 pressure washing myths debunked. All right, guys, myth number 1. More pressure is always better. I think a common thread you'll see running through a lot of these myths is that more is always better. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes less is more, okay? So I think a lot of guys, when they first start out, and I'm guilty of this too, I was guilty of this too, they think more pressure is necessarily better. And when they're searching, they're looking to buy their first machine, they're looking for the highest pressure machine they can possibly find. I found that that's not necessarily true. And as far as PSI goes, you do reach a point of diminishing returns, okay? There's only really so much pressure that you can use. Unless you're planning on entering a very niche market or doing something very specialized that requires a lot of pressure, you could probably get away with a lot less than you think. My main machine tops out at around 2100, 2200 maybe PSI. And that's enough for the overwhelming majority of what I do, even surface cleaning. There is a very rare occasion where I need more pressure than that. And when I do, I have a secondary machine that I can run up to 4000 PSI. But like I said, I very rarely need that. In my opinion, if you're looking for your first machine, the main thing that I would look for is gallons per minute, the flow rate of the pump. I personally think that's exponentially more important than the maximum PSI. So me, I would take a 8 gallon per minute pump at 2500 PSI over a 4 gallon per minute pump at 4000 PSI any day as my main machine. So more pressure is not always better. It does reach a point of diminishing returns, and if you don't know what you're doing and you're first starting out, you can get a machine so powerful that you're going to cause damage. You're going to etch concrete, you're going to damage a surface, especially if you plan on doing a lot of soft washing. You're only going to be running that machine at 1/3 its max or 1/4 its max PSI most of the time anyway. So more pressure is not always better.
Myth number 2, more chemical is always better. I think a lot of guys think, and especially when you first start out, and I definitely thought this, that if a 1% bleach solution is good, well, a 2% bleach solution is twice as good, and hell, a 4% bleach solution is twice as good as that. Not the case, guys. This is a really common one, a really ubiquitous one I see and hear a lot, and it's especially dangerous. Oftentimes, more often than not, when you're dealing with chemicals, less is more. okay? They're just like pressure. Chemicals do reach a point of diminishing returns, and you do reach a point where using more isn't necessarily going to make you any more effective or efficient. All it's going to do is waste more money, and you're going to assume more risk because you're going to have a higher chance of damaging something with stronger caustic chemicals. As a general rule of thumb, my mantra, excuse me, my mantra is I always try to use the least amount of chemicals I think I can possibly get away with, and kind of go up from there. If you've watched my other videos, you know I use a 2.3 orifice on my downstream. I get about 0.5% mix with my bleach, and in most circumstances, that's sufficient. So, myth number 2, more chemical is better. Debunked. Myth number 3, a $25,000 custom pressure washing, soft washing skid is required to get into this business. Nothing could be farther from the truth, okay? That's not to say there isn't a time and a place for the super fancy, super nice, super expensive soft washing, pressure washing rig. There is. I know there are a lot of guys out there that make really high quality, great custom skids. You know, I've heard from everything I've heard, the Southeast soft wash skids are great. Doug Rucker makes good equipment, but you do not need one to get into this business. I think a lot of guys that are just starting out would be very surprised at how much and how many different types of work they can do with some very basic, very simple, fairly inexpensive equipment. Okay, start small and build up. And for the love of God, do not get yourself neck deep into debt to buy equipment. Save your money, build up a nest egg, and pay cash. Not only is it incredibly foolish to get yourself into debt over a business that has yet proven to be profitable. I mean, there's really no quicker, easier way to find yourself in trouble. Not only that, but what will inevitably happen is you'll end up buying a bunch of equipment that you think you can't possibly live without because you saw some YouTuber using it, and then 6 months later, you'll realize you barely used it and you didn't need it, at least not yet. So, start slow, start simple, pay cash, buy some basic equipment, and slowly build your rig over time when you actually know what you do and don't need. So that is myth number 3. Myth number 4. This year I'm starting a pressure washing business. Next year I will be shopping for a yacht. Okay, this is not by any stretch of the imagination a get-rich-quick scheme, okay? Best case scenario, under the best circumstances, this is a get-rich-slow scheme. For most of us, it will be a get-rich-never scheme. Okay, now that's not to say you can't make a very nice, comfortable living in this industry. You can, I do. But if you're going into this thinking that this is gonna be your one-way ticket to being a baller, you're gonna be sorely disappointed, okay? Before you get anywhere near that level, you're gonna have to, it's gonna be a lot of hard work, a lot of tedious work. It's a lot of very unglamorous work. It's dirty, and this is not something where you're not going to have to pay your dues. You are, and so I would suggest, you know, if you're looking to get rich quick, learn how to rap or maybe play basketball, because you'll have a much better chance of getting rich that way than through spraying pressured water at buildings and concrete. So that is myth number 4. All right, my dudes, the moment you've been waiting for.
Myth number 5. Any brain dead moron can run a pressure washing business. It's just spraying water. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm gonna guess you don't believe this, I'm gonna guess you probably know better. This isn't a myth that I hear so much from people in the business or people wanting to get into business, but this is a sentiment that I do hear every once in a while from customers, and I've heard some version of that enough times to it makes me believe that it's a fairly ubiquitous belief. I think people grossly underestimate the amount of knowledge and know-how that goes into this business. Sometimes, you know, you'll send an estimate to somebody and you'll get something along the lines of, well, for that price I could buy my own pressure washer and do it myself, or I could hire the neighbor kid to do it for $50 or something like that. We've all heard it. And the implication is, you know, any brain dead idiot could do what you're doing. And that's just not the case, and it's important to think about that and to sort of have a retort in mind if you want to. Me personally, if I get a response or a reaction to like that from a customer, that's usually where the conversation ends with me, because that kind of just tells me that's someone I really don't want to deal with. But that might not be the case for you. You might be a little more patient than I am. You might extend people a little more grace than I do, and that's fine. I probably should be more like that, but you need to keep that in mind, that is sort of a common misconception and a common myth about this business, and you need to be able to answer that, give an answer for that. You know, I think people grossly underestimate how much damage a pressure washer can do, both to a property and to a human being. You can very easily do a lot of damage to a property. You can very easily do a lot of damage to yourself or to someone else if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to properly operate the equipment, if you don't know what its limitations are, if you don't know how to do proper safety checks. And same thing with the chemicals. We use a lot of very caustic chemicals, and if you don't know how to properly use them, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. I'm sure there are more than a few guys walking around out there with glass eyes that could attest to that fact. You know, you need to know what the proper strength of the different chemicals we use are, what chemicals can and can't be mixed together, and so forth. What different chemicals can be applied to different surfaces, and so on and so forth. You know, it is not as it's not as simple as it looks, I think, to a lot of people. And like I said, if you're watching this, I understand you probably realize that, but I think it is important for us to understand that's how it's perceived by a lot of people, and you need to prepare yourself for that. So that's it, guys. Those are the top 5 pressure washing business myths, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Once again, please subscribe to the channel. Like I've said in the last few videos, I'm really going to be ramping up the content this winter. I'm going to have a lot more free time. I promise I will earn your subscription. If you give it to me, I will make it worth your while. I'll never ask for anything in return except just a subscription and maybe an occasional like. And yeah, so leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be really interested to hear what the common myths that you hear are. And you know, if you want to share those in the comments, I'd love to read them. That's it, guys. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was entertaining, and I'll see y'all real soon.